When you think of a slasher film, the first thing that comes to mind is how many of these films have one recurring theme: society versus the villain, who's mostly either cursed or has faced some kind of injustice. What if we told you that the Friday the 13th franchise has multiple antagonists or villains? Well, most may not be as deadly as protagonist Jason Voorhees, but they have some despicable characteristics in them, like a lot of people out there. Lack of conscience, sanity, or even both. In this video, we've made a list of the top 10 antagonists with a larger-than-life presence in the films, setting the stage for the plot, or just being horrible to the people around. Before we get into detail, we have one request for you. If you love any films or comics in the slasher genre, do give us a like and subscribe to our channel. We've spoken about Jason Voorhees' closest competitor, Michael Myers from the Halloween franchise, in one of our previous videos, who's said to have gotten his demonic powers due to a hereditary curse, so do check that out as well. Brace yourselves, for we're going to give some background about who these antagonists are. Who is Jason Voorhees? Jason was born on June 13, 1946, with a condition that left his head enormous and deformed. Learning disabilities only added to his misery. His mother, Pamela, always kept him sheltered from the outside world. If there was one thing Jason learned, it was this: to always obey his mother. Pamela got a job as a cook in a children's summer camp at Crystal Lake, New Jersey, and kept Jason with her. The kids at the camp's first batch started bullying Jason for his looks and threw him into the lake, where he most probably drowned. The supervisors weren't present. They were in a cabin having an intimate moment. His disappearance gave birth to the second most brutal villain in this series. She set the stage for Jason, who survived the drowning and became the maniacal serial killer we know. And that villain is none other than Jason's mother, Pamela Vorhee, inarguably the first on our list. Introduced in the first Friday the 13th, which was released in 1980, a pregnant Pamela lived in a trailer park in Ohio with her abusive husband, Elias. After supposedly hearing her unborn child's voice commanding her to kill Elias, she acts on it and flees to Crystal Lake, where she works as a fry cook at a local diner. On June 13, 1946, Pamela met David and Louise Christie, who gave her work to cook for a children's summer camp by the shores of the lake. She accepted the offer, and sometime later, Jason was born. Even though he suffered from severe disabilities and deformities, Pamela believed that her son was perfect. She was an overprotective mother with no relatives or partners. She invested all her emotions in Jason. In 1957, Jason drowned in the lake due to the camp supervisor's negligence, as they were away while the kids of the camp were bullying him. Jason, however, survived the ordeal and sat by one of the other shores of the lake, where he was waiting for his mother to look for him, but she never came. Pamela was traumatized by the supposed death of her son and joined back in 1958 with one mission: to avenge her son's unfortunate death. She did kill the erring supervisors, but it did not end there. In 1979, Pamela started killing newer supervisors at the camp, including Steve, the Christie son. Alice, a friend of Steve who was with him, survives the attack and beheads her with a machete. Pamela's killing triggers Jason, who gets a whiff of the murder. Some of you may think that it's not a very big deal for a grieving mother to have warped maternal instincts and take revenge for her son's death. Well, her rage drove her to insanity, making her kill innocent people. Moreover, her behavior inspired Jason's rise as a dreaded serial killer. Fox, Ali, and Loco. These three friends, part of a biker gang, were introduced in the 1982 film Friday the 13th, Part 3. They are shown as troublemakers who ultimately meet their fate when encountering Jason. In 1984, the three bikers pass by Crystal Lake before stopping at a convenience store and taking to troubling its customers. Loco and Ali grab hold of Shelly, one of the customers, and Fox, Ali's partner and the only female in their group, takes to harassing Vera, Shelly's friend. Shelly wants to give Vera his wallet so that she can make a payment, so he throws it to her, but she misses the catch. Fox then holds the wallet under her shoe and forces Vera to ask for it back respectfully by addressing her as ma'am. After Shelly and Vera are let go, Shelly mistakenly touches one of the biker's motorcycles while backing his car up. Ali, who is drinking a beer outside the store, notices it. Angered, he smashes Shelly's windscreen, who then runs over their motorcycles in retaliation and leaves. The three bikers follow them to Higgins Haven, where Shelly and Vera are put up with their friends for a camp. The three bikers then plan to burn the barn down as revenge. Fox gets murdered in cold blood. Initially, unwilling to participate in the act, Ali convinces her that no one will be hurt. As Loco and Ali siphon off gasoline from a van parked on the premises, Fox plays around with the pieces of equipment in the barn as she starts swinging from a rope. An annoyed Loco asks her to stop following around and help them. As Fox is about to get down, Jason pulls her up and impales her by the throat on one of the roof support structures with a pitchfork. Loco gets killed. While looking for Fox, Loco climbs up to the first floor of the barn and sees Fox's impaled corpse. He suddenly comes across Jason, who impales him as well with another pitchfork, killing him. Loco's corpse is then hung upside down in the barn. Ali's final fight. Ali enters the barn and sees both of his friends dead. He sees Jason jumping down and grabbing a machete. Jason exits the barn as Ali continues to attack him with the machete. In retaliation, Jason clobbers Ali's head 3 times with a wrench while attempting to kill Christina Higgins, the lone survivor in this film's plot. She rushes into the barn and notices Ali. Jason sees Ali again and slashes his right hand off before proceeding to hack him up. Christina then proceeds to behead Jason after Ali loses his life. Mike Garis, the sheriff of Forest Green County, Crystal Lake's new name. Mike does not show many overtly antagonistic traits. However, we've added him to this list because of his suspicion of Tommy Jarvis, Jason's nemesis, who tries to stop him from committing further murders. He's introduced in the 1986 film, Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives. Set in 1990, Tommy tries to tell Mike that Jason is back and is committing murders, but Mike does not believe him. Mike thinks that Tommy is suffering from psychological breakdowns and is committing murders, blaming them on Jason. Tommy, after all, was also admitted to the Pinehurst Sanatorium after murdering Jason in self-defense. Mike, unfortunately, meets his end when he crosses paths with Jason. One night, on patrol duty to investigate disconnected phone lines in the area, the officers accompanying him are killed, and Mike realizes that Tommy was right about Jason being alive. As Jason proceeds to attack Mike's daughter, Megan, he rushes towards the killer and gets into a physical fight with him. However, Jason overpowers Mike and kills him brutally by folding his body in half. Megan, fortunately, survives the ordeal. Melissa Parr, introduced in the 1988 film Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood. Melissa is in a camp at Crystal Lake with her classmates. Her behavior towards Tina, the protagonist, and fellow attendee, who unintentionally awakens Jason from his grave below the lake, is very insensitive and petty. Melissa likes Nick, one of her classmates, and tries to woo him. Nick, however, does not reciprocate the same attitude and is, in fact, attracted to Tina. To take revenge on Tina, Melissa asks a friend to dress up as an asylum patient and trouble Tina, since the latter has been seeking treatment about her father's death. This plan, however, backfires, making Nick hate her even more. Meanwhile, unknown to Melissa, Jason is on a murderous spree in the camp. Nick and Tina enter her cabin to take refuge. As Nick tries to comfort Tina, a jealous Melissa gets annoyed and opens the door to leave the cabin, despite Nick warning her not to. As she opens the door, she sees Jason, and out of fear, she backtracks into the cabin while Jason walks in slowly. Jason then kills her by slamming an axe into her face, which sends her flying and falling on a television set. Charles McCulla, one of the main characters of the 1989 film Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. Charles is a strict principal who accompanies his school's students and faculty on a cruise aboard the SS Lazarus, a New York-bound luxury ship. His name is featured on the list for 2 reasons: his misbehavior towards his niece, Rennie Wickham, one of the protagonists and survivors in the film, and his negligence, which got most of his fellow companions murdered. He wasn't spared by Jason either. In the past, Charles tried to make his niece, Rennie Wickham, swim in Crystal Lake, but she almost drowned, due to which she developed a fear of water. Rennie later came under Charles's custody and is also shown as a student at his school. Charles is a stickler for discipline and punctuality and is shown chiding Rennie, who comes late to the cruise. While on board, Charles disregards the ship deckman's warning about Jason, who is on the loose and got onto the ship after murdering 2 students who were supposed to board the cruise. Jason makes his way onto the ship and murders many of the students, faculty, and ship staff. When the ship is damaged due to a storm, it is Charles who helps the survivors stay safe and reach New York, showing his human side. However, as they're seeking help after a few gangsters kidnap a few students, including Rennie, Jason murders a cop who's assisting them and wreaks havoc on the other survivors. As for Charles, when he realizes that the deckman was right, it's too late. Charles tries to save himself by running into a building, but Jason catches him, throws him out of a window, and later drowns his body in a sewage barrel. Tamara Mason, also a prominent character in Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, Tamora is a very popular student of Charles's institution, the prom queen, to be exact. However, Tamora has the attributes of a perfect villain. She's stone-hearted, manipulative, sadistic, and selfish. She's responsible for causing trouble and grief to the other characters around her, except, of course, Jason. Tamora and her friend Eva are doing drugs on board the ship when Charles discovers their act and threatens Tamora to turn in her biology project. Otherwise, she will not land in New York, and her graduation will be nullified. She then takes her anger out on Charles's niece, Rennie, also her classmate, by pushing her off the deck into the sea, since she suffers from a fear of water. Tamora later attempts to seduce Charles and records the incident with another classmate, believing that she could use the footage to blackmail him and secure good grades. However, the attempt is futile, and Charles punishes both students by nullifying their graduation. A worried Tamora gets back into her room to take a bath, and after she's done, she notices Jason breaking into her room. Attempts to save herself are futile, as Jason breaks the bathroom mirror and stabs Tamora in cold blood. Victor Foden. While unrelated to Jason, Victor is responsible for triggering the rise of the pseudo-Jason, Roy B. Burns, a doctor at the Pinehurst Sanatorium where he's a patient. Victor plays a small yet very significant role in the movie series. He's introduced in the 1985 film Friday the 13th, A New Beginning. It all started in 1989 when Victor was chopping wood in the sanatorium compound, and fellow housemate Joey, also Roy's biological son, offered to lend a hand in cutting the log. Victor had terrible anger issues and initially screamed at Joey to leave him alone. An innocent Joey then offered Victor a half-eaten chocolate bar, which he chopped into half. This reaction angered Joey, and as he turned around to leave, Victor hacked him into pieces brutally with his axe. Roy had a difficult relationship with his son. He lost his partner during childbirth, and since he could not take up the responsibilities of the child, he gave Joey up for adoption. Roy, however, kept an eye on him and his whereabouts as he kept shuttling between foster families. This fact was unknown to any of the asylum members, staff, or even Joey. When Roy was called to take away Joey's corpse, he went insane, the same as Pamela's reaction. He then went on a murder spree and killed many innocent people not related to his son's murder, making authorities fear that Jason was probably back. Victor is responsible for Roy's transformation into a dreaded serial killer. However, he was never killed by Roy, as he was immediately arrested and imprisoned for his crime. Victor is never mentioned again after this. Robert Campbell. Featured in the 1993 film Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday. Robert may look like a professional man, but in reality, he's a corrupt television journalist who can stoop to low levels to get his work done. Robert had to be on our list. He's a normally corrupt person taking advantage of Jason's murders and also commits some cold-blooded killings while being possessed by Jason. With such a character arc where he's immoral and also murderous, although not by himself, we felt he deserved a spot on this list. Set in the original timeline, after reporting on the death of a coroner, Robert appears in the Vorhees house, where he reveals on a cell phone call that he has hidden a body in it, the corpse of Diana Campbell, mother of Jessica, Robert's partner, and Jason's half-sister. Jason killed Diana after he possessed the body of a local cop, Josh, also her partner. Robert, who whisked Diana's corpse away from a morgue, continues to brag about his plans to discover Diana's body and gain recognition for his reportage on Jason's murderous spree. Jason, however, enters the scene with Josh's body and later possesses Robert. Jessica then enters the house, which triggers Robert to track her down and kill her. During the chase, a possessed Robert kills and badly injures police officers. Jessica then escapes into a diner, where he brutally kills staff and patrons at the establishment. When two police officers arrive at the scene to investigate, Jason possesses Randy Parker, one of the officers, and continues with his bloody mayhem. Robert's body then melts into oblivion. Marvelous verdict. Villains in films may not necessarily be only the maniacal ones who go around murdering people. They are also the ones who misbehave with the other characters, like Tamora and Melissa, or even trigger them to take up arms, like in the case of Victor. These antagonists make us believe in one thing: karma. You wrong other people intentionally, and you meet the same fate. Most antagonists here had some despicable traits, whether it's Robert taking advantage of a killing to boost his fame, or Tamora pushing her principal's niece off board just because she's scared of water. But in the end, they meet with the same fate, except that Jason isn't a vigilante, but a maniacal killer. Our hearts, however, go out to Pamela, who became insane due to her son's drowning incident. Whatever she did was definitely wrong, but the grief of losing the only person she was close to drove her to kill innocent people. A warped sense of justice, indeed. Well, we hope you enjoyed the video. If you feel that there are people in the series who deserve an antagonist tag, or if one of these villains is your favorite, do let us know in the comments. Till then, we hope to see you in the next video. Have a good day.